The crystalline spires of the Galactic Council's central chamber pierced the purple sky of Nexus Prime, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. Inside, Ambassador Kira Zen of the Collective struggled to maintain her composure as she addressed the assembled representatives of over 200 spacefaring civilizations. Her iridescent scales rippled with anxiety as she activated the holographic display. Esteemed members of the Council, I come before you with grave news about the species known as humans. The chamber, usually filled with the quiet hum of private conversations and political maneuvering, fell silent. Earth had been a topic of increasing concern over the past solar cycle, but few had expected an emergency session of the full Council. 3 lunar cycles ago, our deep space research vessel, the Eternal Seeker, ventured near the Sol system's outer boundary. Kira Zen's 4th arm trembled as she manipulated the controls, showing the sleek research vessel. It was a routine scientific mission, cataloging quantum anomalies in that sector. We had no hostile intent. The Grand Arbiter, a being of pure energy contained within an ancient environmental suit, leaned forward. Continue, Ambassador. What occurred? The Eternal Seeker detected unusual energy signatures emanating from Earth's direction. Nothing like we'd ever encountered in our 1,000 cycles of exploration. The hologram shifted to display complex energy patterns that pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm. Our scientists were fascinated. They decided to move closer for better readings. A low murmur rippled through the chamber. Everyone knew that Earth's space was restricted, had been for centuries, though few remembered why. At first, nothing happened. Then, Kira Zen's scales darkened with distress. Our ship's quantum sensors detected something impossible. The very fabric of space-time around Earth appeared to be engineered. The chamber erupted in disbelief. The Mordanian delegation's crystalline forms vibrated with agitation, while the silicon-based Petrovi representatives emitted waves of skepticism. Engineered space-time. That's beyond even the precursor's capabilities, declared Ambassador Xol of the Technarch Dominion, his cybernetic eyes whirring as they focused on the data. Nevertheless, the readings are conclusive. Kira Zen projected new images, showing complex mathematical formulas and sensor data. The humans have somehow created a layered reality around their solar system, but that's not what terrifies me. She paused, her scales now almost black with fear. What terrifies me is what happened next. As our ship analyzed these readings, we received a transmission. Not from Earth's direction, but from everywhere at once, as if space itself was speaking. The hologram displayed the audio wavelength. A simple, calm message in perfect collective standard. You have seen enough. Leave now. When our captain hesitated, uncertain if this was a genuine warning or an automated message, we witnessed. Kira Zen's voice cracked. Our ship's quantum drive, the most advanced in the collective fleet, simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not disabled. It was as if it had never been built. We found ourselves with a primitive chemical propulsion system instead, barely able to limp home. The chamber exploded into chaos. The ability to retroactively alter technology violated every known law of physics. The implications were staggering. The Grand Arbiter's containment suit pulsed with intense light, commanding silence. Ambassador, are you suggesting that humans possess the ability to manipulate not just space and time, but causality itself? Yes, Arbiter. But more importantly, they showed restraint. They could have erased our entire ship from existence. Instead, they simply removed our ability to quickly return with a larger fleet, while leaving us enough capability to safely return home. It was both a demonstration and a warning. The Technarch representatives' cybernetic components whirred in agitation. Why are we only learning of this now? Because, honored representatives, Kira Zen's scales finally returned to their normal pearlescent sheen. We spent the last 3 cycles verifying our findings and debating whether to reveal them. The humans must know we're aware of their capabilities now. They let us keep our sensor data. Let us return home. They wanted us to deliver this message. But why? Asked a representative of the Bio Collective, their neural clusters pulsing with confusion. If they possess such power, why hide it? Why not dominate the galaxy? Kyrazen's next words seemed to echo in the vast chamber. Perhaps that is precisely why they are to be feared most of all. They possess the power to reshape reality itself, yet they choose to remain within their solar system, asking only to be left in peace. What does that tell you about their potential if truly provoked? The council chamber fell into a deep silence as the implications sank in. The humans weren't containing themselves out of weakness, but choice. And if they ever decided to make a different choice. The Grand Orator's voice resonated through the chamber. I move to immediately upgrade Earth's classification from restricted contact to absolute quarantine. All in favor. The vote was unanimous. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, each lost in their own thoughts about this revelation, Kyrazen remained, staring at the holographic display of Earth's solar system. She couldn't shake the feeling that the humans had orchestrated this entire sequence of events, leading the galaxy to exactly this conclusion. And perhaps that was the most terrifying realization of all. Deep within the secure archives of the Technarch Dominion, Research Director X-117 reviewed the classified reports flooding in from across the galaxy. Each document revealed another piece of the puzzle that was humanity, and with each revelation, their unusual quarantine classification made more sense. X-117's cybernetic processors hummed as they consolidated the data. Unlike organic beings who might miss subtle patterns, their quantum-enhanced neural networks were designed to see connections across vast datasets, and what they were seeing was deeply troubling. Display Project Lambda findings, they commanded. The air shimmered as holographic data materialized, showing research conducted by various species who had observed Earth from a safe distance. The first dataset showed human medical technology. While primitive in many ways, it displayed a bewildering tendency to work better than it should. Broken bones healed faster than physics suggested possible. Diseases were cured through methods that seemed to ignore established biological principles. Even their primitive genetic engineering produced results that defied conventional science. Cross-reference with Operation Shadow, X-117 instructed. New data streamed in, this time from covered observation posts at the edge of the solar system. The energy readings were fascinating. Earth's entire solar system was wrapped in layers of what appeared to be modified spacetime, but the modifications weren't uniform. They shifted and adapted, almost like a living thing. A priority alert flashed across their visual feed. Another observation post had gone dark, the 15th this cycle. Each time, the pattern was the same. No destruction, no violence, just a sudden cessation of all functions followed by the discovery that the post's quantum core had been replaced with a simple fusion reactor. The technology regression was surgical and precise. This shouldn't be possible, X-117 muttered, their vocabulary subroutines falling back on organic expressions of frustration. They accessed another classified file, this one showing attempts to infiltrate human information networks. The results were puzzling. Human computer systems were absurdly primitive, using binary processing and physical electronic components. Yet every attempt to penetrate them ended in failure, not through superior defenses or detection systems, but because the infiltration programs simply stopped working. As if the underlying logic of computation itself changed when attempting to breach human systems. A message flashed across their feed. Director, priority communication from Field Agent T-35. Accept, X-117 commanded. The agent's report materialized. Director, we've discovered something disturbing about human manufacturing processes. They're inefficient, crude, and rely heavily on manual labor. But the products they create, they last longer than they should. They break fundamental laws of entropy. A human-made machine will continue functioning long after our projections say it should fail. We've discovered vehicles over a century old still operating at peak efficiency. It's as if reality itself bends to accommodate their expectations. X-117 finished the thought. They had seen enough patterns to form a hypothesis, one so disturbing that their security protocols automatically try to suppress it. The humans weren't masters of any one technology. They were masters of making impossible things work. Their primitive solutions succeeded because they simply didn't accept the possibility of failure. Reality itself seemed to reshape around their stubborn determination to succeed. X-117 accessed the final file in their review, containing historical data from species who had attempted to directly confront humanity. The pattern was always the same. Advanced weapons would malfunction. Sophisticated strategies would unravel. And the humans would prevail using methods that should not have worked, yet somehow did. Initiate priority message to Central Command, X-117 declared. Their processors had reached a conclusion that needed to be shared, despite the chaos it might cause. Analysis complete. Human technological advancement does not follow any known pattern of development. They are not advancing along a linear path like other species. Instead, they appear to be unconsciously manipulating the fundamental laws of reality to match their expectations and desires. They don't discover scientific principles. They reshape them. They don't adapt to the universe. The universe adapts to them. They paused, allowing their processors to validate the next conclusion. Most critically, they appear to be unaware of this ability. Their scientific development is a mix of genuine discovery and unconscious reality manipulation. They believe they are simply clever inventors and determined problem solvers. This makes them infinitely more dangerous than a species that knowingly wields such power. X-117 included all their supporting data, then added a final note. Recommendation: maintain absolute quarantine. A species that can unknowingly bend reality to match their beliefs must not be allowed to believe they need to expand beyond their solar system. The consequences of humanity discovering their true nature could remake the galaxy in ways we cannot predict or control. The message sent, X-117 turned their attention to the latest energy readings from Earth. The layers of modified space-time were shifting again, creating new patterns that defied analysis. Somewhere down there, billions of humans were going about their lives, inventing solutions that shouldn't work, building machines that defied entropy, and healing injuries that should be fatal. And none of them realized that their very existence was slowly rewriting the laws of physics, one stubborn refusal to accept impossibility at a time. Fleet Commander Zexnar of the Arcadian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching as his fleet of 300 warships prepared to enter the Sol system. Despite the quarantine warnings, despite the increasingly bizarre reports, the Empire had decided that concrete answers were needed about humanity's capabilities. All ships report ready, Commander, his second-in-command announced. Quantum drives are synchronized for simultaneous transit. Zexanar's membrane-covered eyes pulsed with determination. Proceed with the incursion. Remember, we are not here to engage unless necessary. Our mission is to probe their defenses and gather real intelligence about their capabilities. The fleet moved as one, their quantum drives tearing holes in space-time to bypass the outer system defenses. But something was wrong. The quantum tunnels, which should have deposited them near Mars, stretched and warped. When they emerged, they found themselves exactly where they had planned to be. But their quantum drives were gone, replaced with primitive fusion engines. Impossible, Zexnar whispered. The same technology regression that had affected other vessels. But to do it to 300 ships simultaneously. Commander, his sensor officer called out, voice trembling. We're detecting no Earth defense fleet, no orbital platforms, no weapons installations, nothing but their primitive satellites and space stations. That was wrong. Every civilization defended its homeworld. Unless. Full spectrum scan. Now. The results made no sense. There were thousands of human satellites in orbit, most of them crude collections of solar panels and radio transmitters. But they were broadcasting impossibilities, radio waves that carried more information than they should be able to, solar panels that produced more energy than the laws of physics allowed. And through it all, that same subtle warping of space-time they detected from afar. "Launch probes," Zexnar ordered. "Let's see how they respond to direct observation." The probes never launched. Every time the crews tried to initiate launch sequences, they found their launch tubes had always been storage compartments. The probes themselves remained, but every attempt to deploy them failed not through malfunction, but through retroactive impossibility. "Commander," the sensor officer's voice cracked with alarm, "reading massive energy spike from the planet's surface." A voice filled their communication systems, broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously. "You were warned. The quarantine exists for your protection." Zexnar watched in horror as reality itself seemed to ripple across his fleet. Ships that had been pristine warships moments before were suddenly centuries old, their hulls worn by time that hadn't actually passed. Weapons systems transformed into scientific equipment. And through it all, that calm voice continued. "We do not wish conflict, but we will not allow violations of our space. You have 5 minutes to retreat using your current propulsion systems. After that, we cannot guarantee your structural integrity will remain temporally stable." "This is madness," Zexnar's second-in-command whispered. "They're not just changing our technology. They're changing time itself around our ships." Zexnar stared at the blue-green planet below. Their scans showed cities, factories, vehicles, all operating on principles that violated fundamental physical laws. The humans had created their own bubble of reality where their beliefs and expectations shaped what was possible. "All ships, full retreat," he ordered. "Maximum thrust on remaining engines." As they limped away from Earth, Zexnar observed something that would haunt him forever. The humans hadn't deployed a single weapon. They hadn't needed to. Reality itself was their defense system, and it operated on pure automated reflex. If this was what they could do unconsciously, what would happen if they ever actively tried to reshape the universe? He accessed his ship's quantum core, only to find it had been replaced with a simple message etched into a piece of metal. "The universe is not what you think it is. Please respect the quarantine." When they finally reached safe distance, Zexnar prepared his report for the Empire. But how could he explain what he'd seen? How could he make them understand that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or biology, but their sheer stubborn refusal to accept the impossible? His fingers trembled as he wrote, "The humans do not abide by the laws of physics. They do not even recognize them as laws. To them, they are mere suggestions, and the universe itself seems to agree. We must never provoke them into testing the true limits of this power. The quarantine must be maintained, not to protect us from their weapons, but to protect reality itself from their imagination." As the fleet retreated, Earth continued its orbit around its sun, its inhabitants blissfully unaware that they had just reshaped centuries of technological development with nothing but their unconscious expectations of how their defenses should work. In cities across the planet, engineers continued to build machines that bent probability, doctors performed medical procedures that rewrote biological laws, and children dreamed dreams that perhaps were slowly reshaping the very fabric of existence. The news of the Arcadian fleet's encounter with Earth spread through the galaxy like a quantum shockwave. In the prestigious halls of the Galactic University of Theoretical Sciences, Professor Lantel watched her life's work crumble before her eyes. 3 centuries of unified physics theory, she muttered, her tentacles writhing in agitation as she studied the data from the Arcadian incident. All of it meaningless within the sphere of human influence. The conference hall was packed with the galaxy's brightest minds, all gathered to address the implications of humanity's apparent ability to unconsciously rewrite physical laws. The atmosphere was tense, filled with a mix of fear and fascination. A holographic projection displayed the readings from the Arcadian fleet's encounter, ships aging centuries in moments. Technology regressing not through destruction, but through retroactive change. The very constants of physics becoming variable within Earth's sphere of influence. We must consider the possibility, began Dr. Vex of the Silicon Consciousness, his crystalline form refracting light as he spoke, that humans are not merely changing reality, but that reality itself responds to their presence differently than it does to other species. In the diplomatic quarter of Nexus Prime, the political ramifications were even more dramatic. Ambassador Kira, who had first brought news of Earth's true nature to the Council, found herself at the center of a political maelstrom. The balance of power is meaningless, argued the representative of the mechanical concordat, their artificial body humming with emotion. How can we maintain diplomatic relations when one species can literally change the rules of existence? The Grand Arbiter's containment suit pulsed with concern as they reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Trade routes were being redrawn to avoid Earth's sector entirely. Scientific outposts were being abandoned. Even the most aggressive species were withdrawing their forces, not out of fear of human weapons, but fear of having their very nature rewritten by humanity's unconscious expectations. Meanwhile, in the secretive chambers of the Synthesis Collective, a different kind of discussion was taking place. The collective, dedicated to advancing species through controlled evolution, saw opportunity where others saw terror. Think of the possibilities, urged first speaker Ixel, their bioengineered form shifting with excitement. If we could understand how humans reshape reality, if we could replicate that ability, that's precisely what we must prevent, interrupted Overseer Nax, their voice carrying the weight of centuries. The quarantine exists not just to protect us from humans, but to protect humans from understanding their own power. Their ability appears to be tied to their ignorance of it. If they became aware of what they can do, the implications hung in the air like a temporal paradox, a species that could unconsciously bend reality to match their beliefs. What would happen if they consciously tried to change the fundamental nature of existence? In the darker corners of the galaxy, information brokers made fortunes trading scraps of data about Earth. Some claimed humans could reverse death itself, though they didn't realize they were doing it. Others whispered about human ships that traveled faster than their technology should allow, simply because their crews believed they could. The Technarch Dominion's research facilities were overwhelmed trying to understand how human technology functioned. Their quantum processors nearly burned out trying to model the contradictions, machines that produced more energy than they consumed, communication systems that transmitted data through means that should be impossible, medical procedures that rewrote the laws of biology through sheer stubborn human determination. At a secret meeting of the galaxy's most powerful factions, a desperate plan was proposed. We must ensure humans never realize their true nature, argued Supreme Commander Yix of the Stellar Defense Force. Every species in the galaxy must maintain the quarantine. No contact, no communication, no hint that what they consider normal is actually impossible. And if they discover it on their own? Asked a representative of the Shadow Conclave, their form barely visible in the dim light. The room fell silent. Everyone had seen the simulations. If humans became aware of their reality-bending powers, if they began to consciously experiment with their ability to reshape existence, the very fabric of space-time could unravel. In orbit around a distant star, a lone research vessel picked up an unusual reading from Earth's direction. The crew watched in amazement as space itself seemed to ripple, carrying impossible information through subspace channels that shouldn't exist. In their primitive internet traffic, humans were sharing stories about faster-than-light travel, about bending the laws of physics, about reshaping reality itself. The ship's AI analyzed the data and came to a chilling conclusion. Humans were beginning to imagine possibilities beyond their current capabilities. And in their sector of space, imagination had a disturbing tendency to become reality. The quarantine would have to be strengthened. The galaxy's future depended on humanity remaining unaware of their true nature, believing themselves to be nothing more than clever apes who had mastered technology through determination and ingenuity. Because the alternative, humans awakening to their full potential, was too terrifying to contemplate. In the deepest reaches of space, aboard the ancient observation post known as the Eternal Watch, the being called the Observer completed its centennial report on humanity. Unlike the political bodies that feared them, or the scientists who studied them, the Observer's sole purpose was to understand. The crystalline structure that housed its consciousness hummed with activity as it compiled centuries of data. But this report would be different from all others, for the Observer had finally grasped something that had eluded the rest of the galaxy. Final analysis beginning. It recorded, its thoughts echoing into the vast database that served as the galaxy's historical record. Subject: the true nature of human reality manipulation. The Observer interfaced with its quantum archives, projecting a three-dimensional model of Earth and its sphere of influence. The visualization showed layers upon layers of altered reality, each shift and change created not by technology or conscious effort, but by the collective unconscious beliefs of humanity. The galaxy's fundamental error, the Observer continued, has been in viewing human reality manipulation as a power or ability. It is neither. It is a fundamental characteristic of their existence, as natural to them as photosynthesis is to plants or quantum tunneling is to space-time. The display shifted, showing scenes from human history, ancient humans believing they could cross impossible distances on foot, and doing so. Early sailors believing they could survive storms that should have destroyed their primitive vessels. Modern humans casually violating the laws of thermodynamics because they hadn't bothered to learn that their achievements were impossible. Humans do not break the laws of physics. They exist in a state of perpetual negotiation with reality itself. Their consciousness, both individual and collective, enters into an automatic dialogue with the fundamental forces of the universe. Where other species must adapt to the universe adapts to humanity. The Observer paused, allowing its processors to compile the next crucial insight. But this is not, as previously believed, due to any special power. It is because humans possess something unique in the galaxy, true uncertainty about what is possible. The display showed thousands of human entertainment media, stories of faster-than-light travel, time manipulation, reality alteration. Every other species in the galaxy evolved with an innate understanding of universal laws. We know what is possible and what is not. Humans never developed this limitation. They maintain, even into their technological age, an inherent belief that anything might be possible if they try hard enough. Scenes from the Arcadian fleet incident played out. When the fleet attempted to scan Earth, they did so with quantum sensors based on universal constants, but within Earth's sphere of influence, those constants were in flux, responding to humanity's collective belief that they could defend themselves. The humans didn't deploy advanced technology. They simply believed, on a species-wide unconscious level, that they would not be invaded. The Observer's crystalline form pulsed with the intensity of its conclusion. This is why the quarantine must be maintained. Not because humans are dangerous, but because their interaction with reality is fundamentally different from all other life. They exist in a quantum state of infinite possibility, perpetually collapsing reality's wave function through their beliefs and expectations. New data streamed in, showing recent human scientific advances. They are beginning to approach understanding of quantum mechanics that might lead them to realize their true nature. If humanity ever becomes aware of their relationship with reality, if they ever consciously attempt to direct their reality-shaping ability. The Observer paused, its processors struggling with the implications. The galaxy fears Earth not for what humans can do, but for what they might become. A species that can rewrite reality through pure belief, armed with the knowledge of that ability, could remake the universe according to their will. The final images showed Earth, seemingly peaceful, rotating around its sun. Recommendation: maintain quarantine indefinitely. Current human development must be allowed to proceed naturally without outside influence. Their scientific advancement must remain a process of discovery rather than awakening. The universe itself may depend on humanity never fully understanding their own nature. The observer added a personal note, something it had never done in its millennia of existence. They dream of reaching the stars, of faster-than-light travel, of bending reality to their will. And in their sector of space, dreams have a peculiar way of becoming real. The quarantine protects us not from human aggression, but from human imagination. For in their dreams lies the power to remake everything that is, was, or could be. As the report concluded, the observer detected a subtle shift in the quantum fields around Earth. Somewhere on that blue-green world, a human had just had an idea that should be impossible, and reality itself was beginning to bend to accommodate it. The observer watched, as it always had and always would, wondering if today would be the day humanity finally understood what they truly were. Not masters of technology, not wielders of strange powers, but living embodiments of possibility itself, walking paradoxes who rewrote the rules of existence with every step they took into the unknown. And perhaps that, more than anything else, was why the galaxy trembled at the mention of Earth.